So, how do you even begin to capture the true essence of a national icon? Someone so influential their shadow just stretches across centuries. Today, we're going to try and deconstruct a legend, and our guide is one of the most unconventional, absolutely fascinating biographies you are ever likely to come across.
So, this guy right here, this is NFS Grundtvig. Now, in Denmark, he is a massive deal. For everyone else, just try to imagine a figure who was a pastor, a poet, a major politician, and a revolutionary philosopher all rolled into one. His ideas literally helped shape modern Denmark in ways that are still so powerful today. He is, without a doubt, a giant of history.
But that brings up a really big question. When a person becomes this monumental, basically a statue in the public square, how do you get past the myth to understand the actual human being? How do you paint a true, complete portrait? Well, the Danish author Ebbe Kløvedal Reich took a shot at that very question with his book, Frederik. And his approach, let's just say it's not your typical historical biography. Instead, it offers some very, very strange clues for understanding the man.
Okay, so let's dive in. The book kicks off in a pretty familiar way. It grounds us in the historical reality of Grundtvig, the man known as Frederik to his friends and family, and his life as a public figure.
So right away, we see Grundtvig as a man of action. He wasn't just sitting in a quiet study writing hymns and poems. No way. He was right in the thick of it, an active politician, a member of the Fornette Venstre, or the United Left Party, and he was deeply engaged in the political battles that were defining Denmark in the 19th century.
And the book doesn't just paint this simple, heroic picture. It shows us a complex political operator, someone who is even seen as a right-wing deviationist by people inside his own circles. This isn't some mythologized hero. This is a real person dealing with messy political realities.
So the book establishes this solid foundation. We get a portrait of a man firmly planted in his time and place, a historical figure we can recognize, we can understand. But just when you think you know where this story is going, the author completely pulls the rug out from under you. And this is where the book takes a turn into the wonderfully weird. It makes the sudden, really jarring leap across both time and space. All of a sudden, we are not in 19th century Copenhagen anymore. The narrative jumps, get this, to a 20th century professor at Peking University who's teaching dialectical materialism, which is a Marxist philosophy. It feels completely out of left field. And you're probably asking yourself the exact same thing I did. What on earth could 20th century Chinese philosophy possibly have to do with a 19th century Danish pastor? It feels like a total mistake, like a complete non sequitur. But this is where the author's genius really shines through. See, it's not a history lesson, it's an allegory. The chapter is called The Eternal Life. And by using this completely foreign context, it forces us to look at Grundtvig's ideas about community and faith, but totally stripped of their familiar Danish background. It's a way to test if they hold up, if they have universal truth, from a radically new perspective. It's a brilliant device. And as if our heads weren't spinning enough from that philosophical jump, the author adds yet another, even more unconventional layer to his portrait. He moves from the political and the philosophical to the cosmic. Yep, that is exactly what you think it is. It's a horoscope. The author actually includes a full astrological analysis of Grundtvig right there in the appendix of the book. So we've gone from Danish politics to Chinese philosophy, and now to this. So why on earth would he do this? Is it a joke? Not at all. The author explains his reasoning right in the appendix. He's not claiming this as objective science. The whole point, he says, is to analyze the combination of stellar influences to get at a profoundly subjective understanding. It's just another tool to try and get at a different kind of truth. So, the crucial question is, how does this all fit together? We've got straightforward history, a philosophical allegory, and astrology, three seemingly incompatible puzzle pieces. What kind of picture does that actually create? What the author is doing is painting a portrait in three dimensions. First, you've got the historical man, grounded in facts and 19th century politics. Then you have the philosophical symbol, explored through this wild allegory in China. And finally, you have the cosmic blueprint, which is this attempt to capture his subjective essence, his very soul.
The author himself called it a folkebook, a folk book. It was never meant to be a dry academic biography. The goal was to capture the many, many layers of a figure who was part of the Danish national soul. By combining the objective, the metaphorical, and the subjective, the author is basically arguing that we get a more complete, a more human picture than facts alone could ever give us. He needed all of it to get there.
Which leaves us with a really fascinating final thought. This book, it's a bold experiment in how we tell stories about our history, and it makes you wonder, when we try to understand the legends that define us, are the facts alone ever really enough? Or do we sometimes need a little fiction, a little poetry to tell the truest story? Something to think about.